Hello, it's Bonnie Southgate, hEDS Rehab here. Today I wanted to record or offer you a class that was going to be a little bit level up from some of the ones that I've posted recently. I think we are all at very different stages, very different levels. Some of us can cope with different movements than others, and we tend to gear towards the people who find things harder, because obviously we need to make things safe. So I have a caveat for this video. This is taking things up, definitely a level. My body loves to move, and so I know there will be some people out there with EDS or hypermobility whose bodies also really like to move and who are at a level of fitness where they feel like they could do a little bit more. So I thought I would offer some different levels of classes. I can go from crazy hard right down to very basic. So if you are taking this class, please make sure it's appropriate for your own level. Don't do anything that doesn't feel right. I can't monitor anybody, so I need you to absolutely look out for yourself, not to over push yourself. So I will be doing a lot of series of different classes that I will offer ongoing throughout the year. So you might want to start with just even a single exercise, which I'm posting some single exercises as well, and move up gradually as you go. So anyway, let's all get started with this one. Those of you who want to just get moving a little bit more, I'm going to still try and make it super specific to us as hypermobiles and the things that we tend to do. So I'm going to take one foot behind me. Now I'm not going to hyperextend my knee, softening that knee, just lengthening, because often we can feel really tight in those lower legs. And I'm just going to lift the heel up, and then I'm going to reach that heel down, and I'm going to lift that heel up, and I'm going to reach that heel down and lift that heel up and reach that heel down. I'm going to change feet. Take the other leg behind me. Watch, I'm not locking that knee out and back. Just feel that nice length in the lower leg, and I'm going to lift the heel up and then reach it down and lifting up and reach it down and lifting up and reach it down and lifting up and reaching it down. Good. I'm just going to circle one foot. Balancing on one leg is good, and the other side, I'm not letting my feet roll in or my hips give out. And I like to add and integrate into my classes what we call post-isomatic relaxation techniques, because that is what changed my body and stopped a lot of the pain and hurting. So I'm going to reach the band forward, not hyperextending my elbows. I'm going to soften the breastbone, pull my spine back so I feel like I've got a nice stretch, and then I'm going to back out of it slightly, pulling the band apart, but not actually pulling hard enough to let it go anywhere. And then I'm just going to stand up and relax. And again, reaching my arms, gently pull apart. And standing up. And again, reaching forward. Gently pull. And relax. I'm taking my hands behind me now. I'm going to lift my breastbone up, lift my chest, open my shoulders, and I'm going to do the same thing. I've got the band behind me, and it's like I'm pulling it apart, but without pulling it hard enough to pull it apart. And then relax. And again, I'm going to lift the chest, open the shoulders, and I'm gently going to pull it. And relax. And one more time, and I'm going to reach. And relax. I'm going to take the band in between my hands. I'm going to give myself less resistance now. And I'm okay to lift my arms up. And I'm going to pull one arm down. I'm not going into too big a side bend stretch. And I'm coming back up. Shoulders are relaxed. And I'm going to pull the other arm down. I'm reaching and relax. And again. One arm comes down. You could do this without the band if you feel it was better for you, and come back. And again, and the other arm comes down. That's my long arms coming out of the framework, and relax down. I'm just going to give myself some little shoulder roll. I'm just going to shake my hands out, and I'm going to start lying down. So make sure you've got cushions if you need it for your head. And I'm okay as I am. And I'm just going to start with the band under my right foot. Crisscrossing the band over so that I don't lose it. Elbows relaxed down by my side. And I'm going to reach out through that heel just to the point of pull and then bend. And reach and bend. And reach and bend. And reach and bend. Watching I don't overextend that knee. And relaxing it. Change feet. Other leg. Crisscrossing the band over. And same thing. And I'm going to reach and bend. And reach and bend. And reach and bend. And reach and bend. And changing feet again. This time I'm going to leave that leg up there. And I'm only going to, so I have no pull there whatsoever. So don't take it into a big stretch. I want you to go where you feel like you just touch that point, just touch it there. And I'm going to point and release my foot. And point and release. And point and release. And point and release. And I'm going to circle it around in one direction. And circle it in the other direction. And release back. Same thing on the other side. And I have no pull there. I'm not hyperextending my knees. I'm coming out of that. I get it to the point where I get a teeny pull. And then point and release. And point and reach. And point and reach. And point and reach. And circling around. And around the other way. And relax. I'm going to take my hands up to the ceiling. Fingertips or palms facing one another. I'm going to pull my fingertips back. And then I'm going to open my arms. I get no pull there. Some people might get a pull. This would be a nerve glide for your median nerve. And if you have tension, you only go to that point of tension and come back. I'm going to turn the back of the hands together. Bring my fingers down that way. This would be from your radial nerve. Same thing. You might see I get a little pull on that one. So I have a little tension. So I'm going to do a nerve glide for my radial nerve, just a little bit. Good. And then finally, I'm going to think about my ulnar nerve. And so a lot of hypermobiles end up with their hands there, so they can end up with issues in their ulnar nerve, which comes in your little fingers. We're going to take our hands towards our ears, and we're going to give ourselves the Queen's wave, or we're going to wash our ears. Good. And bringing the hands down, I'm just going to float the arms up to the ceiling, over my head, give myself a big stretch. Obviously, if your shoulders are too unstable for this, you don't want to do that, and bring them down. Sliding one leg long, I'm bringing the other leg in the air. I'm going to hold the back of the knee and gently push away. And again, bring that leg in and gently push away. So I'm starting off with nerve glides and I'm starting off with METs to set my body up and relax. One more time. Pushing away. If your neck is good, I'm going to nod my head forward and I'm going to come up and I'm going to stretch and release. I'm still pushing my leg away as I do this. And release. And this is opening up my thoracic a little bit. As I push away, I'm pushing both ends. So I'm METing my erector spinae muscles and relax. Same thing on the other leg. I'm going to push the leg away. And it's nice because I am an ex-dancer and I tend to hold a lot of tension around the thoracic and relax. But obviously, if your neck and head are not good, you might be limited. But you might be fine. So why not go ahead and do this? And relax. One more time. Push the leg away. Nod your head forward, coming up. And release. And again. So I could do that, but I'm not getting anything. So I'm pushing the leg away in order to get into my spine. And relax. My hips are so mobile, I don't normally get into the spine unless I'm pushing that leg away. And then relax. And I'm going to bring my feet up and apart. Knees and feet together, gently taking my knees to the right. I am allowing my left shoulder blade to glide towards my spine. And then rolling back to the center. And the other way, I'm taking the knees to the left. I can feel this shoulder blade more naturally wants to do that than the other one. And again, I'm feeling I've got to really let that go there. And it changes what happens down the chain. And the other side, I'm letting the shoulder blade relax and come back and bringing both knees in again and pushing away. And this just opens up the lower back. Again, it's an MET. I'm active. I'm not relaxing. I'm not pulling. I'm working with the neurological system, not against it. It either makes a change or it doesn't. Take a nice deep breath in. And then as I exhale nice and slowly, I'm going to feel the air come out. And I can just feel that my belly naturally wants to drop. I'm not making it. It does that naturally as I breathe in through my diaphragm. There's a little tiny expansion of the ribs, the lower ribs and the belly. And as I exhale, it starts to lower down. And I'm going to inhale again through my nose. My pelvic floor is relaxed on my inhalation. As I exhale, I am going to allow myself to engage enough muscles to feel like I'm hugging my organs. So I'm somebody who has had a lot of hernias. And this is one of the things that's really helped me was to ungrip my ribs in the front. So I didn't have pressure down, to allow my belly to come down. So I'm not creating a lot of tension there. And I'm inhaling again. As I exhale, I'm blowing the air out as I float my right leg into a knee float. And I'm going to keep my foot not higher than my knee because then it's accessing my quad. And I want my hip flexor to fold. I want my hip to fold more easily. I'm going to inhale at the top. Relaxing the shoulders as I breathe out. I'm going to keep the air blowing out as I bring that leg back to the ground. And relax. There's a lot of controversy about hollowing the belly or bringing the belly down. There is absolutely nothing wrong with massaging your guts and feeling like you get some kind of control over what's going on down there. It has really helped me with all of my issues. Take a nice deep breath in through your nose. I'm not gripping anything, it naturally falls, and then I can just feel I can gather it a little bit further, and I lift my left leg in the air. And it's more of a massage of my organs than anything else. Take a breath in. And exhaling the air out, I'm bringing that leg back down. Good. And again, inhale through your nose. My hands are here for feedback. As I exhale, I'm floating the right leg in the air, and I'm going to leave that leg there. Again, if your leg's here, it's going to work things differently. I'm going to go there. You might want your foot down. Take a breath in at the top. And as I exhale, I keep that same. My belly doesn't really change much, and I float the second leg in the air. My spine's not moved, and I'm working a little bit harder. Take a breath in at the top. Exhale, feel that you connect and bring one leg down. Don't be gripping around the ribs. It is not going to help you. Take a breath in. And exhale, bring that second leg down. Too many of us are really grippy and tight around the ribs. We'll repeat that one more time with the left leg first. Take a breath in. Exhaling, hug your organs. Float the left leg in the air. Take another deep breath in. My organs move around too much. I know my kidney floats all over. Exhale, I'm hugging my organs. I'm stabilizing my organs, if nothing else. Second leg comes in the air. Breathing in at the top. And exhaling, hugging my organs before I bring one leg back down. I've had to work harder on that. That's fun. Take a breath in. Exhaling, bringing that second leg back down to the floor. So I have no real neck issues, but I do get tight in my thoracic spine. So I'm quite happy to take my head off the floor and try and lengthen the tissues in the back. What I do is I help myself with a teeny little bit of pressure back into my hands. So I'm going to just keep lengthening the back of my neck. And if I push my head
super, super lightly into the back of my hands. When I start to roll up, it stops me from using my neck to come up and makes me move a little bit higher. And I'm not about coming all the way up. My legs are relaxed and all of the focus is in my abdominal muscles, and I am releasing back down. I am not a kyphotic posture, so I need this in order to keep strong and to balance out my back muscles. Take a nice deep breath in. These exercises have gotten a bit of a bad rap, but it's all about looking at the individual. If you are really curvy in your upper back, you probably don't need to be doing this. Rolling forward. I'm going to stay there. I'm going to float one leg, and I'm going to float the second leg. And I'm going to release back down. And again, nice deep breath in, hugging my organs, and then rolling up. I'm integrating all of the abdominal muscles. My shoulders are relaxed. My elbows are not out here. Bring them in front so that scapula can sit in a place that will access the external obliques. Good. And one more time, pushing my head back. I'm coming up. There. I'm going to bring one leg down and the other leg down and relax. If that sort of movement gives you headaches, do not do it. I'm going to reach my arms and legs, and I'm going to stretch everything out now. Good. I'm going to take the band and I'm going to tie it around my knees. So if you want to take this class, it's great if you've got a band. So I'm going to get things working. And we're going to pop our feet at least hip width apart, if not slightly further. I'm going to take those knees open as I pelvic tilt. So I'm feeling like I'm going into external rotation a little bit as I flatten my back as those movements go together and release back together. And again, a couple more times just in preparation. If you feel uncomfortable in your back, put your hand on your pelvis. If one side rolls back before the other, put more weight through that foot and it will level things out and open up the back in a more even position. And it might just take all the discomfort away. And again, the knees are open and I've got my feet, so I've got slight weight towards the outside of the heel, but my big toe is anchored into the ground, the base of the big toe, not gripping with them, just the base of the big toe. I'm rolling through the spine, reaching out, good lengthening out through my thighs, and then I'm going to slowly roll back down, allowing each bone to come down and back nicely. And I'm going to keep those knees where they are until the end and slowly let them come back together. And again, taking those knees wide and roll through the spine. You can put a ball between your knees, but that does not go with the motion of rolling into a posterior tilt. So it's a little bit counterintuitive. I know people do that all the time. I find there are better ways to work the adductors. And start to roll back down. A lot of hypermobiles are very dominant in the internal rotator and abductor, and what we need to do is get the lateral rotators and the abductors working to support our hips so they don't dislocate. And two more times, take those knees wide, roll through the spine. This should feel really nice on the back and the hips. And my feet aren't rolling in because that changes and puts stress on the knees. And roll back down. Relaxing everything. We're going to make that the last one because I want to move on. So I love nothing more than a full body movement. I'm going to take my hands in the front of my knees. I'm going to push my knees away to help me roll up to sitting. And I'm going to untie my bands now. So I want to use the band in order to integrate my body. So proprioceptively, sometimes that's difficult to do. So using the band can be super helpful. So I'm going to pop this band under my feet. Good. Holding onto the band. And I might just do a few little arm exercises while I'm here. So I've got a little bit of tension there. And I'm going to suck my arms back into the shoulder joint. And like that. And then release. So I get a sense of where they are in space. I'm not pulling my shoulder blades together in back. They feel super wide, but I'm drawing the arm in the socket. And then release.
and again, and drawing them in the socket. Now I'm going to sit there because that's my nice posture where I've got everything wide and open. And I'm going to start to curl my tailbone under, and I'm going to roll all the way down. I'm not letting my chin hit my chest. I've got space. I'm rolling all the way down. And I've got a bit of glutes helping as I get there. From here, coming back up can be tricky, but one of the keys to helping you is to get the muscles that engage the scapula into the rib cage and bring you up. So when we come up, I'm going to nod my head forward. I'm going to push the band up, which is going to help me move through the stiff part of my upper back. Now I have two options here. I can collapse in my hips and move only from my legs, or I can keep this and I can lift out of my spine and have a nice curve and then sit tall. I want not to collapse into my movement, and I'm going to draw those arms into the shoulder joint. Now I am lifting my rib cage way off my hips. I'm really using energy and effort to lift off my hips. And I'm going to roll back, curling the tailbone under. Good, rolling all the way down to the ground. My glutes have gone on a little bit. And as I come up, I lengthen the back of that neck. Look down, I let my sternum soften. I'm going to pull the band up, which helps me. I'm going to come all the way forward. So I'm trying to get movement in my thoracic spine because I know it gets tight. And I'm going to go toes up, toes down, toes up, toes down, toes up, toes down, toes up, toes down, which is a bit of a nerve glide for the sciatic nerve. And again, I'm going to roll back down. Good, hands down by my side. I'm not leaving my shoulders there. I'm drawing them back with me. And nod the head forward, rolling up. Good. And sitting nice and tall. Now I'm just going to come onto my knees. A lot of times it's uncomfortable on a floor that's hard, so I've got a cushion under here. So in order to help with the translation of my lower leg forward, because I have super hyperextended knees, I'm going to push that lower leg forward with my hands, and I'm going to go for a nice lunge. And where I'm getting the stretch is not in the hip, but in the leg here, because I'm reorganizing my lower leg bone. It might be different there. You might get all the stretch here, you might get it all in the hamstring. Everyone is different, and I'm going into that lunge and coming back out. I have this lovely movement. I am not afraid of it. Don't let anybody tell you to be. If it feels super nice, go ahead and use it. And come back. And again. And reach. It's all about the organization being there. And changing feet. And I'm going to glide forward. And coming back. I don't get the correct movement in my left foot. I've had several surgeries unless I pull this bone forward, and it frees all of the tension. So I don't get the pull in the back of the ankle, and I don't struggle in the front of my ankle. That really makes a massive difference. So you can have a try of that as you come forward. If you are a dancer, definitely have a go with that. It's going to really help you out. And relax. Right. So what I want to do now is I'm going to lie on my front. And I want to strengthen some of my back muscles. So I like the dart because I think that it is an overall nice lengthening and strengthening exercise. I'm going to take my hands down by my side. And I'm going to reach my legs as long as I can. So I want to keep the space of my joints. So I'm not jamming my shoulders down. That tightens you under your armpits and can cause problems. So I'm thinking about width in the shoulders. I don't want to use my shoulders for my back either. I'm going to lengthen those legs further than I think they can go. I'm reaching, I'm activating, I'm not hyperextending my knees. I'm activating those legs by lengthening them to the wall behind me. And I'm going to reach and lengthen the top of my head in front of me. And all I want to do is lift my head off the floor, a slip of paper. And then I'm just going to hover my hands only about half an inch. And release back in. And I'm going to do the same thing. So this is an overall light recruitment of the entire back chain of the body. I'm reaching my legs
Good. And I'm opening my shoulders, lengthening through the top of my head, and reaching through my arms and just coming up. And coming back down, not hyperextending those elbows or those knees. And reach. Don't jam the shoulders down. That is a big mistake for hypermobiles. And start to come up. And now I'm going to bring my hands under my forehead. And I'm just going to do a little nerve glide for my femoral nerve by bringing my foot towards my bottom and relax. And I'm going to reach my heel this time and relax. The other side and reach and down and up and down and reach and down and up and down. The other side and reach and down and up and down. Now, if you felt tight there, I want you to think about pushing your foot into the floor and then bend the knee and push your knee into the ground. And then relax and try again. And the other foot, push the foot into the floor. And then push the knee down into the ground. And bend and relax. Good. Now I want to come up into a bit bigger extension. So if you do yoga and you know the cobra pose, that's fine. Too many Pilates teachers teaching with arms here. I am in abduction with the arm, and that means my serratus anterior should be kicking in, and that feeds into my external obliques, which makes that a position where my upper trapezius should be on. So this is not the ideal place to be getting your extensors working unless you want to focus on the lower back. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring my arms into my natural Pilates position as Joseph Pilates taught it, where my elbows are down by my side. And that allows the upper back to actually move. And that means that you should be able to lengthen the upper trapezius, and you should be able to connect into the latissimus dorsi and the mid trapezius in this position to strengthen the back better and relax back down. And I like coming all the way up, but I don't let myself hang. So I could be hanging as I come up, but I'm not going to do that. So this is where I need that great activation of hugging my abdominals to my spine. I need to reach my legs longer than I've ever reached them, so my bottom muscles are on, and I've got my belly is coming off the floor, and I'm not just hanging into movement. I am pushing my hands down and forward into the floor. I'm actively pushing forward as well, and then I'm going to come all the way back down and relax. So that feels really strong and safe if it's done correctly. And just lifting that head off. And I'm coming up and pushing down and forward, down and forward, down and forward, down and forward. I've got my bottom muscles working like absolute crazy. And then relax back down. Coming off there, I'm going to sit back onto my heels and reach my arms forward. So if you find some of these exercises are not the right level for you, do not do them or take them down to a lower level. I've been doing Pilates for about 20 years, so it's all nice and safe for me now, but it wouldn't have been initially. So going into some cat stretches, I'm taking my hands where my wrists feel comfortable. I'm not externally, I don't want to cue external rotation because that cues you into hyperextension. Hands are slightly forward, elbows are soft. The crease of my elbow is going to look diagonally forward. And I'm not going to let my head hang down here. I'm going to lift it there. And I'm going to start with tucking my tailbone under. Think about my sacrum, drawing my lower back down. And as I move through there, I'm going to lift the spine up to the ceiling, let the head drop down. And I am going to push into my arms, and I am going to push them forward because that's where I need to move. And I'm going to rock back slightly towards my heels and come forward and up. And then I'm going to release my tailbone. I'm going to release my mid-back. My shoulders relax down as I bring the head up. And I am going to go into the cow because I think it's a lovely exercise. What I want you to think first is that you let your sit bones widen, because if you don't, then you won't move in your lowest part of your back, and then you may move too far up
higher. So it's about sharing the load often that makes these things okay. So I'm widening the sit bones and I'm gonna let my scapula come together and I'm gonna allow my abdominals to stretch in front. There is nothing wrong or dangerous. Don't let anybody tell you it is. If it feels comfortable, you're fine. Send your tailbone down. Lift the lower belly back up. Lift the spine up to the ceiling. Rock back. Bring yourself forward and up. Shoulders are relaxed. Gently release the tailbone. Release the mid back. Release the shoulders. Bring the head. Widen the sit bones. Let the coccyx and let the sacrum lift up towards the ceiling and allow yourself to stretch in the front of your body. And relax. Good. Sitting back, I'm just going to have a little shake of my wrists, and then we're going to do a little more exercise on all fours. So coming onto there, I'm going to take and I'm going to slide one leg behind me, reaching it long. Arms are in a good position. I haven't hyperextended my elbows. I'm going to lift that leg up, and I'm going to bring it back down. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm thinking about keeping that leg in line with my sit bone as I bring it up. It's okay for the hip to rotate out. That's normal movement. If it rotates in, that's not quite so good. So kneecap either straight down or a little bit laterally rotated. Bring it back in, but it should feel comfortable. And I'm going to bring the other leg up and I'm going to reach the opposite arm and I'm going to lengthen between the two. Reaching, 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 and bring them down. And I'm going to take the other arm, the other leg, and I'm going to reach. I'm going to reach as far as I can. I'm controlling that underneath arm and bring it back. Try not to shift to the side. So I'm going to maintain stability through there. Imagine you've got a tie bar tying that hip in as you reach. The limbs are in line with the joints. And coming back, other side. And I've got a tie bar from that hip. Sideways on, the arm and the leg are in line, and I am reaching and coming all the way back, sitting back on my heels again. And a little ball. I'm going to breathe into my back, and I'm going to gently roll up. And sitting nice and tall. So some of the Pilates movements for rotation take place in sitting. And the big important thing for me on this is number one, that I don't grip my hips. So if you're somebody who can't sit without these guys tightening up, bend your knees, take that out of the equation. And for me, it's about lengthening because it's so easy just to sit in the joints, lifting my rib cage up, 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 off my hips. So I'm being very careful not to do that because I have a tendency to go into that kind of posture. So I'm bringing, if I think about my ribs here, they're at a tilt like that. I'm bringing them back to level. So I'm lengthening up out of my back muscles, out of the front. And that changes the rotation for me. I'm going to take the hands to the side and I'm going to keep that length. It's super hard. I'm going to straighten my legs just to make it a little bit harder. I'm going to watch them and not forward on my hips. I'm right on top. And I'm going to rotate to the right. Now, when I do that, I'm turning my thumb down on the right and my thumb up on the left because shoulders work that way. And come back to the center. I'm integrating the arms, the shoulder joints into my ribs and my lower half and come back. It's different if I leave that arm up, it does not let the ribs move in the same way. Thumb down, it's the lats on that side because my ribs are closing on that side and opening on the other, and come back. And the thumb goes down and I'm rotating. This is what we do in gait and walking. And come back and relax. Good, I'm going to lie on my side now and do some exercises to get the muscles on the side of my body working. So I like to start with just nice mobility in the hip, and I keep that leg nice and bent, and I'm just letting my leg, now if you've got hip issues, obviously you might be very limited in this, but keep the knees soft and just a nice circle with the leg
And I'm going to reverse it. Circling around the other way. And it feels nice. And bring that leg down. And I'll do that one more time on each side. I can feel all those muscles having to work to lift that leg. I'm not taking any tension in my neck. I'm really supported with a cushion and reversing. And I'm just keeping everything moving. So this is definitely a big step up for a lot of people. And relax, making sure nothing is uncomfortable. I'm going to just place this hand here. We're going to start by bringing the feet up and bringing them down. And again, bringing the legs up. And this is a really nice movement because in gait, we often have one leg that might be going into internal rotation while the other is going into external rotation. So it's normal to have that happening. Now we're going to add a bit extra on, and we're going to lift that top knee up into a clam. So you're making a window. So you're opening it and you're slowly bringing it back together. I much prefer this than starting with the legs down here. That is not working in the same way, and it tends to kick into what we call the TFL here. You don't get the same activation back here. So once the feet are up, then the knee comes into more of a neutral, the hips in a more neutral position. And it's a much nicer way of doing this exercise. It's much more effective. And you may feel that you're pushing down on the bottom leg. That's absolutely fine. You're making it work hard. We're going to be doing both sides, so it doesn't matter. So you can use the resistance if you really want to work that underneath leg. It's now an external rotation as well. So you've got both of them going at the same time. And that's hard work if you do that. One more time, feet up, knees open, and slowly come back down and relax. I'm going to take that leg in a straight line, and I'm going to reach out through my heel, and I'm going to reach it down, and I'm going to let my hip drop. So I'm lengthening this side of my spine and relax. If you've got sciatica on one leg, the top leg could be the sciatic leg. This is a really nice movement for it. If it's a disc bulge, it opens up the space, it takes the pelvis into an anterior position, and it can offload that disc. So this is a nice movement for that. And relax, bringing the legs together, give them a little break. And now we're going to take that top leg again. We're going to reach through the heel. I'm going to put my hand here to begin with. And now I'm going to bring that leg forward, folding at the hip, into lengthening my hamstring, and I'm going to come back. And now I'm going to reach the leg back, and I'm going to stretch with the arm. Now I could go into my back and all kinds of movement, and I could just shear my hip forward, but I'm not doing that. The reach is really important. And again, I'm taking it forward, and as a Pilates exercise, we can add the pulse in, and we can reach. And so if you wanted to take this down a level, you would bend your knee. And again, and pulse, and reach, and coming back together. Like to do a little bit of rotation for the upper body. My favorite way of doing this, which feels great on my ribs, and everything, is to reach forward. I do this if I get a spasm in between my shoulder blades, or I get a spasm in my back, as I do this reach, and I make sure I reach from my shoulder blade, which I talk about in my lower levels of classes. And take your hand on your sternum, let the ball drop into the socket, so you're not taking that arm out of the socket as you roll back. It's not about pulling the arm back, it's about letting those ribs rotate and rolling to look behind you. And again, reach the top arm forward, stretch, and come back. Hand here, I've got my collarbone and my humeral head drop back in the socket as I rotate. And I'm going to go to the other side. Same thing on the other side. I'm going to start with my leg in a circle. So circling that leg around. Good, and I'm going to reverse the circles. Watch your feet, don't do that. So we need to keep those feet nice and level. We're going to do one more step. I haven't got my legs set up back here. I don't know how anybody thinks they can do anything here that way. It's a crazy position. And reverse the circles. In order to keep your spine in a neutral position, that would be really quite difficult, and balance-wise, it's really difficult. So from here, I'm bringing the feet up, and I'm slowly bringing them back down. And again, bring those legs up. We as hypermobiles, we tend to hyperextend our knees and shear the hips forward in the hips, bringing those legs back. We often are tighten our quadriceps and our superficial hip flexor, our tense fasciae latae. So trying to take our legs back there is going to ratchet us into an enormous lordotic spine. And so allowing that fold in the hip, allowing the fold in the knees is a much better position for somebody who's got hyperextended knees. And slowly bring the knees back together and bring the feet back to the ground. And again, bringing those feet up, lift that knee up, make a window. I can do a little bit of pushing that bottom knee down if I want to. That makes it so much harder. And bring the feet to the ground. And one more time, bring the feet up. And if you shouldn't be doing this level, go back to the level 1 class, or you can just watch this for a bit of fun. And bringing the legs all the way back down. That's it. We're going to take that top leg in a straight line, and I'm going to reach through my heel. And I'm going to lengthen the hip. And then release. And again, I'm going to lengthen the hip. And release. And reach. And release. I'm going to bend the knee, have a teeny break. And now I'm going to take that leg, reach through the heel. I'm going to bring it forward. And I'm going to send it back. And I'm going to reach through my foot. And I'm going to reach through my arm so I lengthen. And again, I'm going to bring it forward. And I'm going to pulse twice. Dynamic movements like that are safe as long as you're not someone who dislocates their hip. That might be different. I want to keep controlled. And reach. Watch again that the foot's not here and the leg's not rolling in. That's not going to help. You need the kneecap at least straight forward. Pulsing twice. And reach. And bring the leg back together. We're going to take 2 hands forward. I'm going to reach the top arm forward. And come back, hand on my chest, monitoring that shoulder so I know that the arm is dropped back into the socket. And I'm going to rotate then freely from the ribs. I'm not holding tension in my shoulder blade. And again. And I'm also not letting it just drop towards my spine like dropping a rock into water. I'm going to allow my shoulder blade to glide as my ribs roll around. So I've got control over the release of those muscles. And again, reaching forward. And come back, hand on your chest, rolling to look behind you. And relax, lying your back. Bringing both knees back into your chest. Hug them in, push them away. And release, and again, gently push away. And release. I'm going to come up to sitting. And I'm just going to open up my lower back. Sit nice and tall. And standing tall, we're just going to finish with a half roll down into a bit of extension. So I'm going to stand sideways on. I want you to feel that your collarbones and your sternum lift. I'm not putting my shoulder blades together to stand tall. I feel the lift is from my sternal bone. And I'm going to lengthen through the top of the head. And I'm going to look down and I'm going to start to roll down. And I want to keep all of this upright as I start to roll. So I'm not giving in to mobility. I'm going to keep my pelvis where it is as long as possible. Hopping my hands on top of my knees. I'm going to bend my knees and I'm going to send my bum back. I don't want to keep my knees going forward. My bum is going back. So I'm looking for a stool behind me. I'm now going to bend. I'm going to just lift my sternal bone up into a bit of extension. Good. And then I can glide the tailbone down. And then I can bring myself forward. Now I can collapse or I can lift. And I'm going to roll back up, putting my pelvis pull this back where it wants to be, and then feeling like I re-step on top of it. I'm not pulling my shoulder blades together. I'm not pulling my arms back. I am re-stacking my spinal bones, letting my shoulders come up. And then at the very end, I can think about that lift of my smiling of my collarbones and the lift of my sternum to bring my head up. I'm going to do one more time like that. And lengthening the back of the neck, nod the head down, start to roll forward. I'm not giving in to the mobility anywhere. My feet are not rolling in and my knees are not hyperextending. All hard work not to do. I'm letting my arms hang. I'm going halfway down, hands on top of my thighs, bum goes back, widening my sit bones. I'm going to let the shoulder blades come together as I lift the sternal bone, and I'm going to glide the tailbone back down, let my arms hang, and roll back up. Good. And one more reach up to the ceiling, and reach up to the ceiling. Bring the hands down, some shoulder rolls, and I'm just going to take the biggest breath in now, so I feel like my lungs are going to pop. Breathing in. And let the air come out. And again, I'm stretching all the tissues, breathing in. And breathing out, and relax. Everybody go and get yourself a drink, get yourself rehydrated. Hopefully you enjoyed that. If that was too much, go back to the much lower level classes that I offer. But if you're someone who likes to move and who's already a little bit stronger, then hopefully you enjoyed that. If you did, subscribe and let me know. Thank you for watching. Thank you for joining me in. It's Bonnie Southgate, hEDS Rehab.